listening to NPR, and this actor on a show I don't watch, Rainn Wilson, who is on The Office, the show The Office, they're doing an interview with him, and he's talking about kind of some of the things that he's interested in outside of The Office. And he starts talking about the fact that he's a little bit of a religion and spirituality and philosophy nerd. And he, is his dream is to start a media company that explores big philosophical ideas. Now, in grad school, I had written my thesis about this. My whole grad school thesis was about the need for media to cover philosophical ideas and elevate the ideas of spiritual and philosophical thinkers. So I'm listening to this interview and he's like, and I want to do this and I want to make it compelling. And like, we need to engage more with philosophical ideas. And the whole time I'm driving, I'm thinking, oh my God, Rainn Wilson is stealing my idea. Like I viscerally am feeling like, oh my God, yes, he's stolen my idea.
Have you longed to use your voice, yearned to express yourself in a bigger way? Have you felt like you've got something important to do on the planet while you're here? If so, you're in the right place. This is the Ideas Love Community Podcast, and I'm your host, Jacquelyn Fletcher Johnson. Oh my goodness. Hello, my friends. It is Friday. So let's just take a deep collective breath together, turn off all the distractions, come into the moment right here so that you can be here for this conversation today. Ready? Let's take that breath. I'm serious. Together. Okay. I really want you to be here for this one today because ideas love community. And when ideas, love, and community come together, that is where transformation lives. And that's actually why I first decided to have 1,000 cups of coffee with total strangers, and then made the choice to actually share these conversations with you. Because truthful, soul-led stories are contagious, and I want them to spark you into action. It's time for the leaders, the storytellers, and the healers to rise. It's time for you to rise, to step forward and live your leadership, to claim your voice and activate your community. I'm Jacquelyn Fletcher Johnson, and I'm a global speaker and an executive leadership coach. And I work with leaders in some of the biggest organizations in the world, visionary founders, storytellers, and healers who have a job to do. I know leadership can be really heavy. Claiming your voice can be super scary, and community can feel like too much responsibility or out of reach or even heartbreaking. I have stepped back from leadership. I have been scared to use my voice, but I can't do that anymore, and neither can you. So consider me your trail angel. I will meet you on the trail. I will uplift you with nourishment of stories and strategy, and I will call you into doing what you were put here to do. And so will my guests. And oh my gosh, am I excited about today's guest? I have been freaking out about this. It's so much fun. So you are in for an absolute treat. Shabnam Mogharabi is an entertainment entrepreneur and producer with 20 years of experience leading mission-driven media companies. She co-founded the uplifting content studio SoulPancake with actor Rainn Wilson, which she ran as the CEO for nearly a decade, amassing, now get this, a more than 1 billion video views and dozens of Emmy and Webby awards before a successful exit to Participant Media. Currently, she's a founder and CEO of the Joy Brigade, a consulting and advisory firm that helps early and mid-stage media, entertainment, and tech companies with strategy, business planning, content creation, and storytelling. Shabnam sits on the board of multiple for-profit and startups and nonprofit organizations. And if that weren't enough, I got to take a breath before I keep going. She is also a highly sought after public speaker on the subjects of positive psychology, joy, and purpose. Plus, she's an author, which we're going to talk about today. So please, you got to put your hands together for this one. Please help me welcome Shabnam to the virtual stage. Welcome to my friend. Hi.
You're like a radio DJ with your sound effects ready to go. I love it.
You know, when I was in college, I was the general manager of the radio station. Mm-hmm. And I had 2 shows. One was a music show, was fun. I played the music of the day. The other one was a scary story show that I did late at night, and we would do all the sound effects. And I would
That's
tell scary
amazing.
stories. Yeah, I
Well,
loved it.
hi, Jackie. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Nice to see you.
It's so good to see you. I have been
I'm so glad you're doing this.
well, you have really inspired me on this because so back in the day before I'd ever written a single book, I stood in line at a conference and pitched an agent. And the only reason I pitched her and had the courage to do it was because I found out she went to the same college I did. And I could picture her in the same college, like down the hall in the dorm and going to the same classes. You and I worked at the same company.
I know. 300 years ago. It feels like ages ago.
Ages ago. And you were in
wild. Yeah.
Yes. And we were in different cities.
Mm-hmm.
So should we start with your origin story?
My superhero origin story. Is that
Yeah.
I mean, my origin story is basically that I am destined to be the way I am. I am the oldest child, firstborn, oldest daughter, child of refugees, Capricorn, type A, INTJ, like you name the, driven, ambitious, family oriented, purpose driven characteristics, and like, hello, right
That's
here.
You.
Yeah. So my origin story is I think I was meant to be the way I am. And honestly, being an eldest daughter of immigrants is like probably my primary origin story defining factor. I was born to refugees from Iran who came here after the revolution and kind of had to start completely over with nothing. And, I'm the oldest of 4 girls. And so immigration issues, education issues, like all the things that I care deeply about are very much so stemmed from, who I am and my parents.
Can we have an eldest daughter moment?
Yes.
So there was a meme going around for a while that was like the eldest daughter off to do things again because no one else will. and it was like a video from a fashion show with this woman like dressed head to toe in like black leather and this very severe haircut. And the fashion show was like in this quarry with like these really harsh lights. And she was just marching off to do the things because nobody else will do it.
Determined to get to it and make it happen. Yeah. No, to this
resonating?
day, I'm the vacation planner for my family. I'm the one who, recently our family dog, my mom and dad, our family dog passed away. And I was, and immediately my mom's like, I don't know, maybe we need another dog, and I'm like on the adoption sites, I'm sending links. Like I'm just the doer in the family. So the minute there's something that needs happening, I'm the person that makes it happen. Yeah. Eldest daughter.
Eldest
hashtag eldest daughter.
Do you want to pull out what almost happened today and just show everybody watching?
So I had 2 options for shirts today. I had this lovely plaid shirt, and my second option was this shirt, which I logged on, and I was like, oh, I'm real glad I didn't choose that shirt. We would have been majorly twinning over here. So we almost identical shirts going on.
Oh my God, I love this so much. So all of this to say, I just want to put a little bow on this for a second, because if you are watching right now and you have questions along the way, please put them in the chat, interact, feel free. We'll ask those questions and bring you into the conversation. But what I wanted to just highlight again and put a little pin in is the fact that we're people. You are a person.
Yeah.
We both worked at the same company. Joy and I, my agent and I, we went to the same college. Like if you have a big dream, the people on the other side are people.
Yeah. And we get in our heads about that so much. We're like, oh, this person won't take my call. This is such a long shot. This is insane. There's no way I'm going to connect with this person. But you're right. We're all just people at the end of the day. And so if you find the way to connect with someone, that goes a long way in almost every conversation.
So you made a huge connection, a massive connection. When you were working at the same company I was.
Yep.
Driving around Washington, D.C. Can you tell us that story? It's such a great story.
Yeah, so I have to give you context for this story.
Yep.
So
Yep.
I was in my late 20s. We were working at this company. Now this company happened to be in the housing real estate space circa 2008. Bad time to be in that space.
Yes.
So in the on the work side, I was laying people off every other month,
Ugh.
which was awful.
Ugh.
And then in my personal life, I had actually recently ended an engagement. So I was engaged. It was a really unhealthy relationship, and called off this engagement. And so I was like in like lows. I felt like my career was in this low and my personal life was in this low. So in this context, right, in that headspace
Mhm.
of being in that headspace, I'm driving down Connecticut Boulevard in Washington, D.C., and I'm listening to NPR. And this actor on a show I don't watch, Rainn Wilson, who is on The Office, the show The Office, they're doing an interview with him, and he's talking about kind of some of the things that he's interested in outside of The Office. And he starts talking about the fact that he's a little bit of a religion and spirituality and philosophy nerd, and he, is his dream is to start a media company that explores big philosophical ideas. Now, in grad school, I had written my thesis about this. My whole grad school thesis was about the need for media to cover philosophical ideas and elevate the ideas of spiritual and philosophical thinkers. So I'm listening to this interview, and he's like, and I want to do this, and I want to make it compelling, and like we need to engage more with philosophical ideas. And the whole time I'm driving, I'm thinking, oh my God, Rainn Wilson is stealing my idea. Like I viscerally am feeling like, oh my God,
Yes.
he's stolen my idea. And I remember pulling over to the side of the road and like sitting and listening to this interview and vacillating between like elation that someone else thinks this is a good idea
Yeah.
and anger that like it's not me doing it. And so by the time I get to work that day, I had kind of like determined in my mind I was going to be part of this. And in my head, this was a pipe dream. Like there's no way this is going to happen. But what do I have to lose? Like I'm laying people off. I've called off an engagement. Like I'm already the lowest I could be. What do I have to lose? And so I just started emailing everyone I knew in LA. And eventually I got connected with someone who's a really good friend of Rainn's and who invited me to come with him to the set of The Office. And the first time I meet Rainn is in his trailer on the set of The Office. He's in full Dwight regalia. And he's like, so what do you do? And I'm like, trying to tell him like I do storytelling, journalism, content creation, et cetera. And he's like, yeah, cool. So this site, we want to launch it in like 3 weeks, and we've got all the tech and bells and whistles. We have no content. Can you do it? And I'm like, yes. That's literally how I started working with Rainn Wilson. The whole time, every email I sent, I was like, I'm not going to get a response to this. I'm not like, I was so in my head about it, which, we were just talking about, like, you
Yes.
can get so in your head about, oh, I'm going to do this. But then also like, this is not actually going to happen. And like, no one's actually going to respond to me. So then
Yeah.
when I'm sitting in this trailer and he's like, why don't you come on board the next 3 weeks and try to make content happen? I'm like, am I in an alternate universe? Like what is happening right now? Like you barely met me and you just have the endorsement of like this mutual friend of ours. This seems crazy. And yeah, 17 years later, I'm still working with him,
Oh
which
my
is
gosh, I
nuts.
love
Yeah.
that so much. And oh my gosh, and we're gonna unpack all of that. But you said yes. You
I
said,
did.
here is this. We got to launch in 3 weeks. There's this huge deadline. You said yes.
I did. I literally said, yes, I can do that. And in my head, I said, okay, I've got vacation days planned. I've got vacation days stocked up. I'm going to take them all off. I'm going to call in favors. I'm going to make this happen. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. Like in my head was already, eldest daughter going, like, how am I going to make this happen?
Yeah.
And yeah, I said yes. And I think the other smart thing I did, which at the time I was like, what am I doing? When they reached out and we're like trying to get all this stuff rolling, like, oh, how do you want to get paid, et cetera. I was like, actually, I think I want equity. Like, can I come in as a founding member to do this? And they said, well, we'd have to put you on a cliff and a vesting schedule. And that means you wouldn't get paid for the work. And I'm like, I'm okay with that because I just knew I deliver. So I was like, I'm
Yes.
okay with that. And yeah, 3 weeks later, we launched the site with almost 6 weeks worth of content. I'd called in every favorite, every writer, videographer, photographer I knew. And yeah, it was kind of it was a really wild month. It was a wild month.
Were you nervous?
I was so busy
Yeah.
doing the work that
Yeah.
I couldn't even think about being nervous. I just had to get it done. This deadline was so hard and fast. And
Yeah.
it was because Rainn was going on Oprah's Super Soul podcast. And
Okay.
so he wanted to announce it because he felt like Oprah's audience would be the perfect place to announce this site. So
Yeah.
he was like, we got to get it up. We got to get it up by this date. And so
Oh
this
my gosh.
hard deadline, and I knew it had to be good. And I don't think I slept for 3 weeks. I mean, I already was like, not sleeping well. So it was like perfect. I was like, great, I use this to my advantage. And I'm just going to not sleep well for the next 3 weeks and make this happen. And made it happen. I don't know. It was nuts. It was insane. When I think back to it, I'm like, could I have done that now? I don't know. but
Wow.
yeah.
I love this so much because whenever people find out that I'm doing 1,000 cups of coffee with total strangers, they're like, how do you get the courage to reach out? How do you get the confidence to reach out to folks? Like, how do you do that? I'd love to unpack your confidence a little bit. I mean, you're an eldest daughter. I
Yes,
know,
yes,
but
yes, yes,
but
yes.
not
Yeah.
everyone has the confidence to be like, I'm just going to go for it. I'm going to call up everyone I know to figure out all of my degrees of separation to Rainn Wilson. How did you get that confidence? Where do you think that comes from?
You know, I'll be honest, I don't know that at that time I was that confident. It
Mm,
might have been a little bit of I I don't know what other word to use, but a slight desperation. Like I was in this moment in my life where
yeah.
I just knew something needed to change, and I
Yes.
was seeing a therapist, and I was like, I need to change something in my life. I'm not happy with where my
Mhm.
career is. I don't feel fulfilled in the work I'm doing. I also have had this like hard chapter in my personal life, and I just need a
Mhm.
change. And I was so motivated to change something that I
Yes.
think that's what, I think I felt more desperate at the time. Maybe it appeared like confidence, but I really think I knew something needed to change, and
Mm,
I was gonna make that change happen because I
mm,
I wasn't fulfilled with where my life was at that moment.
what a beautiful, yeah, you put that beautifully. It does sometimes take us those darkest moments to push us into action, doesn't it?
It does. Sometimes
Yeah.
you need, I mean, how many times do people say they get the cancer diagnosis? I mean, you know
Yeah.
this from personal experience, but they get the cancer
Yeah.
diagnosis and it completely changes their worldview and changes their perspective and
Right.
the things that they prioritize in their lives. Like sometimes you need that gut
Mhm.
punch to make you go, something needs to change and I'm going to change it.
Yeah, we're here today because of that. I've been
Yeah.
asking myself that "what's mine to do" question since the diagnosis, and so grateful that I've got the time, and the health now to be able to do that and
Yeah.
to think about
Knock
that.
on wood.
I
Yeah.
know, right? All right, I'm gonna find some wood.
Where's the wood? Find the wood. Find the wood.
Find the
Find
wood.
the wood.
And, but it's true. It's like, I don't know, sometimes we have to it's almost like there's when you get to that place of darkness, it's like, what else can I do? Like, it's just
Yeah.
this moment of like, how do you want to live the rest of your life? Like, this is
Yes.
it. This is it.
And I also think this is something that I have learned over the last 20 years is
Yeah.
you have to train your mind and your eyes to look for and notice the light,
Yes, you do.
especially when you're in those dark moments. What happens oftentimes is we get in those dark moments and our brain, and it's evolutionary, right? Like our brain
Yeah.
wants to focus on the danger, the threat, the like negative, and we
Yes.
have to train our brain to find the light. And at that time, building SoulPancake, the seeds of the early days of SoulPancake was the light. And I chased that light
Mm,
hard. I chased that light hard because I
mm,
knew I needed it. I knew
mm.
I needed it in my life and I needed that change.
Full body chills.
Mm,
Full body chills. I love that. Yeah, you knew you needed the light and you chased it.
I did.
That's
I chased it
gorgeous.
hard. So I don't know
And
if it was confidence. I don't know what he would call it, but like I chased the light.
you chased the light.
I needed the light and I chased it.
And you can chase the light in little micro moments and you can chase it in big dramatic ways like you did, right? We can do that in both ways and should do those micro
You can
moments
chase the
too.
light by stepping outside and standing in the sun.
That's right.
Like that is chasing the light.
That's
So putting on your favorite song is chasing the light, right? Like
yes.
it is absolutely micro moments and macro moments. So
Yeah.
I fully agree with that.
This conversation is making me so happy. I never know exactly where we're gonna I mean, I have an outline, eldest daughter, but like I
Exactly.
love just being in the moment with you on this. So when you were chasing the light, did you have any concept of how this was gonna ripple out and affect people's lives?
No. And actually, I remember having a conversation with my mom when I said I was going to quit and work on this full time.
Yeah.
my mom was like, but what is the business? You're going to talk about soul and like nobody's, how are you going to make money doing that? Like she was so
Yes.
concerned for me.
Yeah.
And what's funny is we eventually pivoted and became a YouTube channel. And so at that point, my mom was very relieved because she thought I was working for YouTube. And so she would tell people I was working at Google for YouTube, and I'd be like, no, 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 mom, that's not what I do.
That's not it
But
at
she
all.
was much more relieved once there was a YouTube channel that was successful because she thought I was working at YouTube. But yeah, I did not. I had no clue.
Yeah.
I honestly was like, this is a huge gamble. I have no idea if this thing is going to pan out. And at the time that I quit my job and moved back to LA to full-time work on SoulPancake, the then CEO was leaving to start another company, and I was going to take over as CEO, and we were completely changing the company. So we were literally pivoting from this website where we were trying to create social networking that was fine, but wasn't really successful. The only thing that was performing well on it was video content and video stories.
Yeah.
And so we decided to pivot to become a fully 100% video content creation company. And that pivot, I'm also moving, I'm quitting my job, I'm taking over as CEO, I'm going to live on savings for a while. Like literally it was like so much change happening all at once. And I was like, this is such a huge gamble and I'm terrified, but also I believe in this so much that I need to see it through. And so yeah, at the early days, like I mean, there were these little wins that were kind of affirmations, but they were not wild successes. It wasn't until really 3 years in that we started to see viral videos happen and the views really grow. And yeah, and so yeah, it was tiny affirmations along the way, but a deep belief that I needed to see this through.
Yes.
And then the big wins started to happen.
And it sounds like those big wins came in directly after a big leap when you were terrified.
100%. I didn't know what I joked in those early days that I was a Google CEO, meaning I Googled what I needed to know to be a CEO, because I was making it up as I went. Like we were
Yeah.
rapidly hiring. I was going out trying to raise money and speaking to investors. And so suddenly I had raised, $1.5 million for this kind of initial, after our kind of seed and family, friends and family, like I raised an initial series A of $1.5 million. And we were off to the races and I was staffing up really quickly. And I was like, crap, how do I set up HR? And I'm like Googling, how do I set up HR? And like, I need a vendor who can do it, right? Like all these things that I had no idea how to do. It was truly very entrepreneurial in that sense.
Yes.
And so, yeah, it was a lot of learning on the job and learning as I went and trying to figure it out. And it was a big old gamble. Every day was kind of like this, am I nuts? Okay, I'm still doing it. So.
I love that. I keep telling my daughter, like, this is me afraid. Like, whenever I do those big leaps, like, this is what it looks like. I'm still doing the thing. I'm also scared.
100%.
It's important to normalize that, taking big risks and going after the thing that your soul is calling you to is hard.
Yeah. And your heart is beating rapidly and your stomach
Yes.
is all upset because your nerves are out of whack. And yeah, you had too much coffee. Like all of that is part of it. Like it's all of it's part of it.
It's all part of it. And it may or may not work, but you're going to take the shot and then you're going to learn something.
Yeah, it's true. Very true.
Oh, I love this. So we have a question. So are there any trade-offs of chasing a dream that you did not see coming? It's a great question.
It is a great question. And I will say the trade-off came in my personal life. I called off this engagement, dove in headfirst into SoulPancake and really built that. And on the side was like, eventually was like, oh, I should start dating again. And, was really slow to it and wasn't sure that even like I was meant for me. And I always wanted a family. I always wanted a big family, but I also found myself like really heartbroken kind of after this really rough part. And so what ended up happening is I kind of I birthed this company. I birthed this company, and then I really got married to the job. And so I was dating, but not really. And by the time I was like, 36, 37, I was like, oh crap, I should probably freeze my eggs and also prioritize, a relationship if I really do want a family. And the trade-off has been that, I didn't get married till I was 39. I had my first child at 40. I am my second at 43 with a lot of fertility treatments. And I've been doing fertility for the last year and a half, trying to continue to grow my family. And it's really hard. It's expensive. It's emotionally, isolating and devastating in a way that is really hard to articulate unless you've been through fertility processes and challenges. And so that was the trade-off is, I did pursue this really big dream and I built a massive business and I worked 60, 70 hours a week, getting those billion views and literally changing hundreds of thousands of people's hearts and minds. And I'm so proud of that. But I also know that I sacrificed in my personal life to do that. And I sometimes wonder what would have been different had I prioritized that sooner, and would I not have struggled as much in trying to have the family that I wanted?
Oh, is that how do I say? I want to ask this question in a very respectful way, but is the going back and thinking about that worth thinking about? The what ifs?
No, but you can't help it, right? Like biologically, neurologically, we're wired for this, right? Like we are wired to reflect because that's how we learn, right? Like that's how we develop wisdom is by reflecting on the past and analyzing those decisions and choices. Do I regret the choices I made? No. I am so proud. I am so proud of what I built. I'm so proud of the impact SoulPancake had. I'm so proud of where I am now. And I'm human. So I've also know that on the outside, it's like, wow, you've done so many cool things. But then I also know that like everybody has their struggles, and my struggle has been fertility. It's been, the last 6 years of my life has been fertility treatments and struggles. And so it's hard. It's super hard, but that's what makes that's life, right? Life is both highs and lows. It's suffering and, exuberance. And so it's all of those things. And I'm very honest and open about the fact that nothing is ever always perfect in every part of your life. That's just not how life is. Unfortunately, it's just not.
I love how you just modeled what I wanted to take that question to, which is if you do get stuck in the what ifs and you get stuck thinking about I should haves or something should have been different or all of that, and you beautifully just articulated what acceptance of life looks like and holding more than one thing in your hands at the same time, right? I can both be really proud of what I've done and really excited about what I've done and also hold this other thing, which is some sadness and some wondering and some grief and, all that stuff. Like we can hold all of these things in our hands.
Two things can be true at the same time.
So true. It's so true.
It is very true. Yes.
Okay. So SoulPancake. So for those of you who have not seen SoulPancake, you got to go look it up and check out all the videos. I was living this vicariously because I, was part of the environment that saw these videos start to happen. But what I also love is there's magic. There is magic in the universe, whether you call this soul, God, higher power, whatever. There's magic and mystery in the world. And I was prepping for this interview with you. And a friend of mine, Dr. Corey Martin, who, hi, if you're watching, Dr. Martin, hello, shout out. He does these fantastic retreats for healthcare workers, clinicians, to really work on burnout. And he is a doctor. He has his own just amazing story about burnout. And so he invited me to go on one of his retreats. And at that retreat, he showed several of your videos, but one of them was the gratitude letter writing one about how you write a letter of gratitude to someone and then you read it out loud to them. And it has this big impact on how you feel positively. Maybe it was a week before our call. He sent through this post and it was like, I just finished 2025. I wrote a letter of gratitude every single week this year and sent it. And he talked about, so it just brought it all back up. And he talked about how that some people he never heard back. He didn't hear anything back from them. Some people, there was a phone call afterward and they had this amazing moment together. Like all sorts of different things happened in this year. And I read that a week before this call. And I'm like, that work that you all did together continues to have these ripple effects in the world, even if people aren't watching the videos as much. It lives on in all these really interesting ways. How does that land for you?
Well, to this day, we get emails, notes, Instagram direct messages about, oh, so-and-so showed the gratitude video or a kid president video or my last day story, right? Like these videos have a life of their own. And, you know, one, I feel like part of it is part of my legacy, right? I do feel like this is part of my contribution to the world. And if it's the only thing I've ever contributed to the world, I'm really proud of it. And I'm really proud of the impact it's had. But I also, as you said, believe that there was some magic, some lightning in a bottle that happened. It was the right moment, the right time. There wasn't something like this on the internet. And people were desperately craving these kinds of stories. And so there was a little bit of lightning in a bottle. And I also would be naive to say it was me. It wasn't. It was a team of 40 people who cared about this mission, who poured their heart and soul into finding the right artists, finding the right creatives, finding the right storytellers, who believed in had the same worldview that SoulPancake did, that we need to chase the light, that we're more connected and more alike than we are different. Like these were kind of some of our core beliefs. And these were storytellers that believed the same thing and a staff that believed the same thing. And so, I think it was very much so magic and lightning in a bottle. And it was very much so because of the people that made up this company and this network, this, you know, connected network of filmmakers and storytellers who wanted to tell SoulPancake stories. So I'm super proud of it and humbled by it. And I'm also, you know, not naive to the fact that it was not me. It was not just me. It was a whole team of people.
It's never just us, right? It's never just us, even if we're doing it on our own.
Yep. Even right now, I work as an independent producer on films. And even then I am working with a team of people to bring this film to life. Right. And so you're never an island. You're never working by yourself.
No, you're not. I won an award for my business at one point, and they gave us a bag, you know, with all the stuff in it when we went to the gala to get the award, and it said self-made. And, you know, that's a badge of honor for a lot of entrepreneurs, right? And so I kind of strutted around for a week after I won that award. I was like, yeah, I'm self-made. I'm self-made. And then I started thinking, I just felt more and more uncomfortable in my body with that word. I was like, Jackie, you are not self-made at all. Like you have been made by so many people. Like you were made by Teresa Sandy. Hi, Teresa, who called me one night and was like, I've got, you know, a proposal for something that you do on my desk right now from my team. Can you have one on my desk by 7, a.m. tomorrow morning? And it was 7 p.m. that night. And I did what you did. And I said, yes, I can. Yes, I can. So none of us are self-made. None of us.
No, not at all. And I think actually it is to our detriment to think that we are.
I agree.
I think the more we recognize and appreciate how many people have influenced our lives from the time we were born to now, it really does give you a wisdom, but also be a lot of perspective about what really matters, I think, in life. And actually, I know we're going to talk about the book in a second, but one of my favorite activities from the book is about kind of the people who have influenced you along the way, because it's such an important thing that we don't think about. Like, who are the people whose ideas have guided you, whose support has elevated you, who gave you your values and the foundation of your values? Like, all those people contributed to everything that has ever made you who you are, successful in any way. And so I think it's really important to recognize that.
We've got some comments coming in. So Brooke Foley, hello, Brooke. She said, so true. It is never just us. I love the reflection on that. Yeah. And Brooke is an amazing gatherer of humans too. So yeah, ask your questions, Brooke. And Ava says, the American dream, it's the American dream of self-made. The community is more important than anything. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes.
Absolutely.
We're fed this myth that you entrepreneur, you're going to go and you're going to be successful. And it's going to be you. Like that is the message that we are fed from the time we're kids. I mean, even in high school, you're told there's a valedictorian. There's one person who's going to, right? And that person worked so hard for 4 years. It's like, no, that person also had support and teachers who believed in them and classmates who brought them the homework when they were sick and parents who shuttled them from here to there, right? Like every single human being has an entire cadre of people around them that get them to where they are. And the more we neglect that, I think the more disservice we do to our own well-being.
I completely agree. And I think it's two ways, right? It's the one that there's all these people that help us, like you. You are speaking next week at the Gateway Gathering and Pitch Fest. Thank you. And it's going to be so fun. And so many amazing humans are coming who are supporting me on this journey to create this new event. And it's my responsibility to put my hand back and say, come and get your work in front of these people. Come and do this thing, or encourage somebody to do something that they're dreaming about. Like, I really strongly believe that that's part of the process. It's not just, right, me taking advantage of the community. It is us being all part of the community. And one of the big lessons, I know, I think I've told this before on the show, but is when I had breast cancer, I have my sister-in-law's family are Angus beef farmers. And they have this incredible farm that overlooks Lake Pepin here in Minnesota, which is basically a big part of the river. And they have done for 35 years, this pig roast. And it's an auction. And they invite everyone to the community, from the community, to come and bring things for the auction. And so people cook things and they make things and they get the antique out of the closet and they bring all this stuff. And they have a friend that's an auctioneer that comes, and they've got the cousins that come with the band and, entertain. And then they auction off all this stuff and they raise all this money, and then they give it back to people in the community. And so I'd been going to this thing for years. And the month, it was like the month after I was diagnosed with cancer, we got this check in the mail. And I just stood there bawling. And I called my husband in and I was like, honey, look at this. We just got this check. And he starts crying. And like, it still makes me emotional because we were part of the community. We were honored as members of the community in the breathing in and the breathing out of a reciprocal living organism. And it felt like,
I know. I get it. I totally get what you're saying.
Yeah.
You feel the pulse of people through your whole body when things like that happen.
I love how you just said that.
Yeah. Because that's what it is. It's the pulse of humanity. Like, you feel it in your body.
You do.
It is. It's really beautiful. Moments like that are really beautiful. It reminds us that we're part of a collective, that we're part of a whole, and we were never meant to be alone or feel isolated or lonely, ever.
Never. Okay, that's a perfect segue to what you do now. Because
queued that up for you.
You did that beautifully. Oh my gosh, thank you. Eldest daughters are in the house. Okay. So you are speaking about, you have a certification in positive psychology. You're speaking about joy. Tell us more about what you're speaking. And then I want to pivot to the book, and any questions for our listeners, put them in there if you have a question.
Yeah. So I've always kind of been curious about positive psychology, and it's because I think I'm actually a natural Eeyore. And biologically, I think most of us are. We're naturally wired to like look at the fight or flight or threat or whatever. And so I think I always grew up thinking, why is it that some people are not this way? Like, why are some people not as anxious and stressed and, worry so much? And they just seem so fulfilled and content. And I kind of made it my mission to try to understand this. And so I read a lot of books about it and kind of stumbled into this space of positive psychology, decided to get the certification. And what was also interesting is that so much of what we did at SoulPancake, while there were some kind of spiritual undertones on it, what really informed most of what we made were the principles of positive psychology and the science of positive psychology. Yes. Those things actually more informed kind of the content we did, the type of content we did, the type of stories we did, and the frames that we used for that content. And so through that whole process, I really dove deep into it. And I was being invited in kind of, early days of SoulPancake to speak on panels and at conferences and so on and so forth. And every time I would talk and I would be asked about kind of the values that inform SoulPancake, I would talk about joy, I would talk about positive psychology. And over again, it was the thing that people would come up to me and say, this is what we need more of. Like, I want to understand how the positive psychology shows up at your culture, in your office, in your workplace, and the content you're making and the stories you're telling. And I realized, wow, this is really a need not to chase joy or happiness as an emotion, but to understand the science of what changes our neural pathways, like what actually changes our behaviors, what changes our perspectives on life.
Love that.
And I realized, oh my God, this is a huge need. And so I did a lot of research. I pulled obviously from my own experiences, and I started crafting kind of a narrative around joy and positive psychology that I liked talking about. And worked with my agent at the time, who has continued with me, but my agent at the time was just like, oh, you go out and talk about SoulPancake as like I would joke that I'm the cheap alternative to Rainn. You can't afford Rainn, so you get me, the not funny short Persian girl, not the tall, funny comedic actor. So I was being sent out to talk about SoulPancake as the not Rainn alternative. And so this agent kind of was like, oh, you're great on a stage, I'll book you. And so when I pivoted and said, I really want to lean more into joy and positive psychology, he was really with me in it. Like, oh, these are the kinds of places that we can take you to, and so on and so forth. And so I've really refined this message over time. And what I've realized is that we actually, this moment in society that we're in right now, we are facing, and the way I describe it is we're facing kind of three big new pandemics. Yeah. And in the face of these three big new pandemics, which I can talk more about, intentionally kind of choosing these tools and making these tools habits in our life can be profoundly transformational. And so that's what I really dig into in my keynotes.
And I hired you to do one of your keynotes, and it was fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
It was fantastic. So any meeting planners watching, conference designers, please.
Please, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, she's good. So I'll give you the testimonial right here. I mean, you had the audience really just wrapped around your finger, because people were so interested in the content, and we got amazing feedback after the event. And so, yeah.
That makes me really happy to hear. Thank you.
Definitely. You want to hire Shabnam. Okay. So then you wrote a book.
Yes. You have a copy. I have a copy too.
Here it is. Soul Boom Workbook.
Spiritual tools for modern living.
Yes.
What? Like beautiful. People are like, what? Spiritual tool? Yeah.
I know. What are we doing? What are we talking about on LinkedIn right now? What's happening? And YouTube. I mean, we're talking in other places, but LinkedIn, like, what are we doing with the LinkedIn Live?
Yeah.
Because we are seeing more and more people with a vacuum where the heart lives.
Yes.
And coming to work with this emptiness and checking out and, and lonely and not engaged and fearful.
Yes.
You've probably read what's going on in Minneapolis right now. I live in Minneapolis. It's
scary and horrifying. And we live in these weird dichotomous worlds where it's like at one second you're enraged and heartbroken about what's happening in Minneapolis, and in the next second you're trying to, entertain your children and, make them dinner. And it's just it's so hard to reconcile those things in our brains right now. The pandemics that I talk about is, an insane rise in distrust between people. Like, we just don't trust each other anymore. Last 70 years, trust has just been decimated between people. We're far more isolated as a result, and every industry is actively isolating us. We also have a proliferation of doom. Like, every platform is making us feel more doom and heaviness and gloom around what we consume. And the third that I talk a lot about is a crisis of meaning. We've historically always gotten our sources of meaning from our friends, our family, our career, or our faith. And all of those areas of our lives have either been undermined, diminished, reduced, are not providing the same value as they used to. And so I think that third bucket, that crisis of meaning, is why we wrote this book. Like, so much of what's in this book is about helping people think about their spirit and their soul without the attachment to religious dogma or organized religion. It's saying, hey, a lot of people threw religion out for good reason. Like there are a lot of bad things associated with religion historically. So a lot of people threw it out and said, oh, I'm spiritual, not religious, but then didn't actually take in this ancient spiritual wisdom that came with the religions. They didn't really take it in and absorb it. And so the book was an attempt to say, how can we help people tap into spiritual values, ancient spiritual wisdom as a way to change how they seek and find meaning in their lives. And I think that's the gap we were trying to fill when we were putting the book together.
So needed, so beautiful. I would just wanted to, and thank you for doing it, because yes, we're living in this place and it's having really dramatic impacts on our families, on our friendships, on our mental health, on our physical health, like all the healths, right? Like I had talked to a mom the other day who I'm not going to say her name right now because I don't know if I have permission to tell her full story, but I loved what she had said about how what's happening in the world impacts how I treat my children, impacts how I treat, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Like we could all say that, right? We all just came out of holidays that were maybe tense.
Yes.
We all have people that we feel like we can't talk to, or we can't say the things that are on our hearts. And so there was a guy that wrote a book called Mama's Last Hug. Did you ever read that one?
Mm-mm.
It was by a animal researcher who researched emotions in animals. And I can't remember his name right this second, but his book was called Mama's Last Hug. And I heard him interviewed on NPR. And he said, what do you think is going to be like the downfall of our societies? And he said, I think the downfall is that our communities are too large. Our cities are too big. And we can't create these small communities like the pig roast where people know each other, they come together, and then it automatically triggers reciprocity.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was so profound in that moment. So I just wanted this is a moment we're all feeling it, and what you're feeling is real.
It is real. And I'm glad we're naming it, because I don't want people to think, especially, I'm sitting here talking about joy and positive psychology. Like this is not a Pollyanna, solution. This is not about dismissing all these hard things of life, the isolation we're all feeling, the impact on our spouses, our children, our communities when we see what's happening in the world. It's not to say those things aren't important and aren't happening. They are.
Yeah.
And I think, and they are happening, and we have the ability to access tools that will change how we respond and how we react in the face of extreme challenges and distress. And I think that's where I find real potency in talking about these very practical tools that there's a lot of research and science around that truly can change our perspective, our well-being, our mental health, truly can have an impact.
A big one too. I mean, a big one. So this book, it is literally a walking support group. It is a walking, right? It is.
Yeah.
It's
a companion piece to Rainn. Rainn wrote a book in 2023 called Soul Boom: Why We Need a Spiritual Revolution, about the need for more spirituality in shaping how we think about and move through the world.
Yeah.
And the number one piece of feedback that Rainn got was, actually, but how do I do that? Like, you sold me on the case for it, but like, how do I actually do that? And so the book walks through three quarters of it is about personal exploration. Like, what does spirituality mean to me? What does that actually look like? What are the values that are important to me? What do I think the role of suffering is? How do I think about death? How do I think about crises? How do I think about those things? And what has shaped my worldview? And then the last quarter of the book is where we take it external. We say, okay, this work is not just internal. This work has to extend out into the world to have a real meaningful impact.
Yeah.
And so and that was honestly the hardest part of the book to write, was how do you actually take some of this internal work and apply it externally? And where we landed was in two buckets, which is invest in community and have a service mindset. That if you do those two things, that's how you take spiritual wisdom and apply it externally. Because over and over again, in every practice, Eastern practice, Western practice, you come back to these same things, which is that living your life in service. Now, many religions say in service of God, but in service of others, in service of humanity, like living with a service-oriented mindset is transformative, both for you as an individual, but also for the society within which you live. And the second is that intentionally building community and treating others as you would want to be treated, the reciprocity of community and investing in that is the single biggest shield against both sin, if you want to go down the traditional religious path, right? But also in a more modern context, like the distress we feel, the mental health challenges we face, the noise of the gloom and the dystopian messages we get every single day, that community is the antidote to that. And so that's where we landed in how do you actually take this internal work and take it externally. And I think that this is important for leaders. So many people, it's so funny that you were like, what are we doing talking about this on LinkedIn? But so many people have asked me like, okay, but like, this feels fine for me as a mom or me as a wife or me in my community, but like, I also run a business. How does that work? And I'm like, community, service mindset. Like, create a culture of community in your workplace and lead as a servant leader. Ask first and foremost, how can I help? Right. And that can change how we lead. It truly can change how we lead and how our organizations work together. So I do think it has applications in kind of leadership spaces. And we don't talk enough about how important some of these values-based leadership tools can show up.
I completely agree. And I've heard from so many senior leaders, who are kind of making the path from being a really strong individual contributor. And they are out there doing it and they're doing the work and they've really made a name for themselves. And then they have to jump up to leadership. Yep. Or they have to jump into they've been doing leadership, but then they have to do the leading of leaders. And I've heard a lot of people talk about that jump is so difficult because, you're focused on, it's like your eyeballs are turned inward, focusing on yourself and what you're doing. And am I achieving? And am I saying the right thing? And am I making sure that my voice is being heard? But then there's a switch that has to happen. And the switch that has to happen is like letting go of control so that if somebody else makes a mistake and my name is the one that's on it, then I'm going to be okay with that.
Yeah.
Right. And so, and to your point, like really turning externally to be like, how can I support this community to do the work?
Yes.
It absolutely resonates. I mean, it's what every leader needs, I think, whether we're leading big teams or we're leading a family, either way.
I so agree with that.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Okay, I want to dive a little bit too into this because it's just, there's so many beautiful moments. Like there's essays, there's, exercises, there's quotes. And I love that, you guys talked about having, the Julia Cameron original Artist's Way was a real inspiration for this.
Oh, it was a big inspiration for us, The Artist's Way. It's a fantastic book. And I mean, it's a legend in the kind of personal exploration space. And so that was a big inspiration for us.
Yeah. And one of my favorite parts of that book is the quotes on the side. So I love that you do that here.
Fully inspired by
so good.
by The Artist's Way.
I love this. Okay. So I'm just going to say one that I pulled open randomly. Okay. The poetry of the earth is never dead. John Keats. That's what came up right now.
It's beautiful.
Okay, so
I'll tell you a funny story about the quotes, though.
Oh yeah, please.
So the process of making this book was probably the funniest part of this. The thing that was the funniest, because Rainn and I would constantly be texting each other quotes that we would see, but then half the time quotes are wrong, right? Like the quotes are wrong. So there would be times where he would text me and he'd be like, is this a fake Buddha quote? And he'd text me a quote, right? And then I would read the quote and I'd be like, okay, hold on, let me look. And then I'd look and then it'd be like, yeah, fake Buddha quote. And then he would say, damn, it's a good one. And I'm like, I know it is a good one. We should use it anyways and say it's a fake Buddha quote. Like the process of trying to find these quotes was one of the funniest things in the world, because there are so many fake quotes out there, and like vetting them to like actually see, is this a real quote, was like surprisingly hard.
Did you put fake Buddha quote?
No, we didn't.
Oh my God.
I think our publisher would have been like, you can't put a fake Buddha quote inside of your book.
Okay. But that would have been really funny. You might have to put out like a little ebook just with like
of just here are all the fake quotes
Yeah.
that exist that are really good, but they're not actually attributed to any of these people.
That is so funny. I love that so much. And, and the real, right, the serious part of this is that humans have been humaning since the dawn of humans. And so I love that there's all this wisdom in there that we can draw on. Like, we don't have to rely on this teeny tiny little thing up here between our ears. Like, there's so much community.
There's so much wisdom. And we're all so distracted. We're so like, squirrel, that we don't even have the attention spans anymore to consume in-depth that wisdom. So this was very much so like, here's a little bit of a shortcut to help you get all that collective wisdom. I mean, there's literally compilations of like quotes about love, about community, about soul from every practice, indigenous, Eastern, Western, to really remind us that like, oh wait, a lot of these ideas are universal and maybe there is wisdom in them.
What has surprised you the most about this journey?
My journey or the journey of the book?
Either one.
Well, I think for the book, the part that has been, not surprising, but affirming is, Rainn and I built a business together, and then, we sold the company and we both kind of started working on independent projects, and we've now come back together building this Soul Them initiative. And I was like, oh, wow, wait, Rainn and I really do work well together. Like, we really do have complementary skills. Like, we get each other. We have similar worldviews. And it was very affirming to be like, we really are a good business team. Like, we really are a good creative and business collaboration team. So that part was really affirming, that it wasn't just like a one and done, like, oh, it just happened to be that one thing that we did. Like, multiple projects later now, it's been really affirming to feel that. But I think for myself, the biggest surprise as an eldest daughter is that I cannot control or will what I want into existence. Sometimes you just have to accept what the universe is putting in front of you and be okay with that. And that has been probably the most maybe surprising, but also uncomfortable thing that I've had to experience in my life, is that I cannot will everything I want into existence. I cannot force things that, aren't meant to be. That rejection is God's protection, that there is wisdom sometimes in things unfolding the way they do. And that has been hard for me to learn. It's made me uncomfortable because I am an eldest daughter who likes to will things into existence. And so that's probably been the most surprising and uncomfortable part of just my life's journey, career journey. I don't know.
I'm going to pull out a little bell for that.
You really are a radio producer at heart.
I am.
You've got all of your sound effects ready to
go.
True. I don't have enough things for sound effects here. I'm like, I don't have enough items. I've got mugs. I've got a sand.
You've got a sand thing. I know. Stranger Things. Did you watch the last?
Don't tell me I haven't watched the last.
I'm not going to say a word. I'm not going to say a word other than there's a radio scene. And she uses lots of the sound effects. And so I was like, oh, that feels like home. Okay. So we're closing in on the end here. So we both brought mugs for 1,000 cups of coffee. This is mine.
What is your mug?
I'll put this up there. This is the Gunflint Tavern on the Lake from Grand Marais.
I love it.
Minnesota, which is where my husband proposed. Well, in Grand Marais. We were up there. This is what we got. He's got these mugs at a little restaurant in Grand Marais.
That's really sweet. How long have you been married?
Oh my gosh, 21 years.
Nice. What's the secret? Since I'm, only 6 years in here, what's the secret?
Oh my gosh, what is the secret? Is to, find out how each of you works. That's the biggest thing. Like, we would paint rooms together and fight for years, for years. And finally, one day we were like, how do you need to do this? And I would say, I need to be given an assignment. So I'm not waiting for you to get organized.
Right.
So I would start taping while he would set up his table with all of his instruments on it. And then I would lay out the tarp, and then I could get to work with like the messy rolling of the things.
Yeah.
And he would very carefully edge the ceiling perfectly.
Okay.
And now we don't fight when we paint anymore.
This is so funny. I feel like we've lived parallel lives. So in the first year of our marriage, my husband and I, our marriage, we had all the things that can happen
Yeah.
to a couple. Like he lost his job. I left my job. We had a bit, like I got pregnant, you know, we had fertility issues. We bought a house. There was a worldwide pandemic. Like all of this happened in the first year of our marriage.
Oh my gosh.
None of it phased us. The thing that we almost divorced over
Yeah.
was hanging wallpaper in my coming baby's room. We were up till 2 a.m. We have never yelled at each other like we have over this wallpaper because I was so concerned about not having bubbles in it. And he was just ripping the back. And I was like, no, like it almost destroyed our marriage. And to this day, we're like, we can't hang wallpaper together.
No, we're not hanging. Oh my God, that is so good.
Yeah, it's like almost destroyed. Like all the things that happened in the first year of our marriage, totally fine. And then the wallpaper almost took us down.
So the most ridiculous thing is popping into my head right now, which is so leaders. Think about these relationships and how that impacts what goes on in the workplace.
Exactly.
Like some people cannot hang wallpaper together or they will get divorced. So and there is a way to figure out.
Yes, there is.
You edge, I will roll.
Yes. Oh, when we hang wallpaper for this wallpaper, actually, my husband literally said, I'm just going to ask a friend to come and do it with me. And I was like, that sounds good. Here's my vision of what I want it to look like. Okay, bye.
Perfect. It's perfect. I love that. Right? That's what relationship is about, right?
Exactly.
You figure it out. Oh my gosh.
You figure out what makes people tick. Yeah.
We could talk like we could be taking people on retreats and just talk for like an hour.
Yeah.
You know, for
oh,
3
my
days.
mugs. I forgot to show you.
You got to show the rest of your mugs. People, we are going over. So just
I know. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry.
We're good.
My husband jokes that I'm a beverage collector because I literally, my desk always has like 7 different beverages on it. So I've got my water bottle and my coconut water, but my mugs, I have my Soul Boom mug. This is my Soul Boom mug.
Mm-hmm.
And this has a iced tea in it that is actually a recipe from my neighbor who brings us every year a formula for Christmas tea that I make into an iced tea. I have my Ember mug because I nurse 1 cup of coffee all day. This is real. This is like real life.
You were not
I was not kidding. I also have my hot water with lemon and honey, which is what my mom drinks every morning. So I also drink hot water with lemon and honey every morning. And this mug is very special to me. It's a Pantone mug. It's number 563, and it's actually one of my favorite colors. And this is the mug that I drank my hot water with lemon and honey in every day of SoulPancake, and I cherish this mug. And so it is still with me 15 years later.
So good. So good.
Those are just the 3 that are here right now.
Okay. We are again living parallel lives. I have 3 cups on my desk right now as well.
I don't know. He literally says I'm a beverage collector, and I'm like, yeah.
You are. Oh my gosh. This has been such an absolute joy. You are going to be at the Gateway Gathering and Pitch Fest next week.
I am. We'll get more real. We'll get more real about like the tactics next week.
Exactly.
We're going to get a fun chat.
Yeah. This was a fun chat. I wanted people to get to know you, to know your work, to get to know the new book you've had come out, that you are an incredible speaker. Next week, we're going to be diving into, if you want to be out there living your leadership and using your voice, Shabnam's going to come and help us, see the pitches, see people that are pitching, and give us some feedback and do a small group Q&A and all that fun stuff. So thank you for being there next week. All right, my eldest daughter friend, thank you very much. I so appreciate you being here. This has been an absolute joy.
Thank you for having me.
Just one final question. If you could have 1,000 cups of coffee and, did that journey yourself, if you were going to do that, who would be the next person you would have a cup of coffee with?
Well, if it's not a stranger, I'd probably say my husband. I'm in the era of small children, so I don't spend enough time with my husband right now. So I'd probably just go get a cup of coffee with my husband. But if it has to be a stranger, I'd honestly probably go to a retirement center or a senior center My grandfather was one of my favorite people in the world. I could have listened to his stories for ages. And, since he passed in 2018, it's like one of the things I crave the most is like, I miss the most is sitting with my grandfather and hearing his story. So I'd probably head to a senior center or retirement center.
I love that so much. That's beautiful. So yeah. All right, everybody, write that one down as an idea for your journey to 1,000 cups of coffee. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening. You can expect all kinds of fun things in the future episodes of this show. You'll be hearing stories from other people, voices that I've found or worked with or gave me chills. You're going to be able to hear interviews I've done on my journey to having 1,000 cups of coffee with total strangers. And you're going to hear advice on how to tell stickier stories, how to find your courage, and how to use the tools that will help you use your voice in a more aligned, broader way. All right. Thank you again for being here at the beginning, for being a founding listener. I so appreciate you. And if you have a story to tell, I want to hear from you. Until next time, be brave.